July 25th, 2025, Twitter erupts with a single chilling phrase, RIP Jason Statham. Within minutes, tabloids cite an unnamed hospital insider, claiming Hollywood's toughest man has finally met a fight he couldn't win. Yet scroll back 11 years to appear in Bulgaria, and you'll watch that same man pilot a 3-ton truck straight off a broken dock, disappear beneath the Black Sea, then claw his way through a jammed door to gasp at the surface, alive, unbeaten, almost feral with refusal to die. How can a body built on bruises absorb that kind of apocalypse and still be felled, supposedly, by an invisible stroke in a London hotel suite? Something in this timeline refuses to add up, and the answer hides between coal-dust childhoods, shattered Olympic dreams, underwater escapes, and the silent grief nobody remembers when engines stop roaring. Buckle in. Jason Statham's real collision course starts right here. Long before he slammed car doors off their hinges, Jason Statham learned to slam open market stalls at dawn. Shirebrook, Derbyshire, was charcoal gray even in summer, a mining village where the air tasted of coal dust and boiled tea. His mum, Eileen, had once danced in London revues. His dad, Barry, juggled painter gigs with late-night pub singing and hawking knockoff jewelry from a battered Ford Transit. Money came in short, ragged breaths, never a deep lungful. At 10, Jason was counting change for customers before he mastered long division in school. Yet amid the clatter of bargain bin perfume bottles, one element felt weightless: water. A family trip to a council pool revealed the only place gravity forgot him. By 12, he was hitching rides to Crystal Palace National Sports Centre in London, 4 hours each way, training alongside divers who'd been flipping off boards since preschool. He was hopelessly behind, coach said. But hunger is its own curriculum. Mornings began with market haggling, afternoons with martial arts drills in a back alley dojo, evenings diving until the janitor killed the lights. Chlorine became a second bloodstream. Bruised knuckles from street corner karate morphed into calloused palms gripping the 10-meter platform. In 1990, England stamped his passport to the Commonwealth Games. The Olympic rings glimmered just beyond. 2 years later, selection day arrived, and he missed the Barcelona team by a single place. He didn't cry. He watched the pool settle, surface smoothing over like it had erased him on purpose. 10 years of lung-searing practice, traded for silence. He walked out of the center carrying nothing but a duffel bag, and a lesson he'd never forget. Effort isn't always rewarded, but endurance always collects interest. The boy who failed to make a splash would soon learn how to make the whole world flinch. 1992 dumped Jason onto rain-soaked London pavement with no medal, no money, and no plan beyond survival. He rented a bedsit so narrow he could touch both walls without stretching. The radiator was a rusted rumor. Daylight meant hustling Gray's in-road markets with his dad's old patter. Genuine fragrance, love, half the Harrods price. Only now the perfume was knockoff and the hope thinner. When crowds thinned, he'd duck into dingy gyms, trading hawked watches for an hour on the heavy bag. Nights belonged to the Crystal Palace pool, where holograms of Olympic glory still haunted the high board. He dove until the chlorinated hush felt like absolution. Model scouts from sports promotions spotted the uncommon geometry of his jaw, signed him for Tommy Hilfiger and Levi's gigs that paid enough to keep the lights on, but too little to kill the hunger. He'd stride a catwalk at noon, then sell counterfeit Rolexes by 5. The same shoppers who ignored his stall earlier now snapped photos, none the wiser. "I wasn't acting," he'd later joke. "I was practicing." Practice paid off the day a blunt Jack the Lad director named Guy Ritchie needed a real hustler for a micro-budget crime caper. At the audition, Jason didn't read lines. He opened a duffel of fake jewelry and dared Ritchie to haggle. Coins clinked, accent thick as East End gravel, timing razor true. Ritchie laughed so hard he forgot to negotiate. "You're bacon," he declared, writing the character around the man who'd just sold him his own movie. Lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels cost Jason 5 minutes of street-honed swagger and paid £5,000. Small change on paper, but it detonated every locked door Hollywood had ever slammed in his face. Success hit like a sucker punch. Nobody bothered to telegraph. Lock, Stock, 1998 turned Jason's hustler grin into Britain's new export. Snatch, 2000, doubled down, grossing $80 million and proving the accent didn't need subtitles. It needed a louder speaker. But the real inflection point roared onto screens in 2002 when the transporter parked a BMW on a French beach and re-engineered the word cool around Frank Martin's black suit. Statham made one condition: no stunt doubles. If the character flipped a car or snap-kicked a goon through a bus window, the audience would watch the real man bleed. Production insurers panicked. Jason shrugged, citing a decade of 10-meter dives as unpaid rehearsal. The first week, he cracked 2 ribs on a split-jump spin kick, resetting the bone himself before cameras rolled again. Pain reminds you the take was honest, he told a medic, lips white with endorphin shock. Hollywood, always hungry for authenticity, fed him more danger. Crank 2006 demanded parkour across downtown LA freeways at dawn. Death Race 2008 strapped him into an armored Mustang rigged with live fire turrets. By 40, he carried a laundry list of orthopedic souvenirs, compressed lumbar discs, a perpetually clicking left shoulder, knuckles swollen like geological formations. Doctors warned of early spinal fusion. Tabloids crowned him Iron Soul of action cinema. Between sets, he slept on ice packs, inhaled turmeric smoothies, and trained Wing Chun until call times. Friends worried painkillers might follow. He refused, insisting clarity kept him alive when explosions misfired. Reviewers sometimes panned dialogue as thin, but even critics admitted, when Jason launched a roundhouse, you flinched because the screen felt porous. The hit looked like it could shatter your own teeth. Each film raised the bar, each bruise raised the price. And somewhere behind the adrenaline haze, the meter on his body kept ticking, interest compounding in silent, unavoidable debt. Bulgaria, August 24, 2013. Noon heat rippled above an abandoned dock where Expendables 3 pre-rigged its big money shot. Jason, at the wheel of a 3-ton flatbed, screeches up to the brink, slams the brakes, end scene. Simple, if the brakes hold. Cameras roll, the truck snarls forward, timber planks splintering under its weight. Jason pumps the pedal. Nothing. Hydro line blown. A production assistant yells, "Cut!" But physics is directing now. The cab lurches, steel railings shear like tin. And in one violent shudder, the whole rig somersaults off the pier. Underwater silence swallows the scream of metal. Windshield bursts. A galaxy of glass spins past his face. Seatbelt jams tight across cracked ribs. Adrenaline, older than language, detonates. He slams his shoulder into the door, locked by bent hinges. Second hit, louder thud, lung full of diesel-tainted water. Third hit, crack. The door wrenches open. Suction yanks him into blackness. Light shivers above in a hazy stripe. 40 seconds of air left. He once counted these intervals on 10-meter dives. Survival math is muscle memory. Kicks free of toolbox debris, boots snag on steering column, rips loose, thighs screaming. 30 seconds. Surface feels no closer. Images flicker. Rosie's laugh, his son's first steps he watched on FaceTime, a promise to slow down tomorrow. 20 seconds. He claws upward, lungs folding. The moment he breaks water, crew voices detonate in chaotic relief. Stallone sprints to the edge, screaming expletives that double as prayers. Medics haul Jason onto the dock. His first words, half cough, half joke, brakes need work. He refuses the ambulance, sits dripping diesel and adrenaline, watching cranes fish the twisted truck from the Black Sea. That evening, alone in a hotel bathroom, he braces on the sink as hands tremble. Something no camera will ever show. Staring at his reflection, he finally asks what no stunt rehearsal covered. What happens when invincible isn't anymore? 2 years before the Black Sea plunge, tragedy had already redlined Jason's nerves. On Expendables 2, 2011, a mistimed explosion tore through a Zodiac boat and claimed the life of 26-year-old stunt rigger Kun Liu. Minutes after joking he'd someday be where Statham is, Jason reached the shore too late, kneeling in scorching debris, hands shaking harder than they ever had in a ring. He spoke at no press conferences, posted no tributes. Grief turned inward, calcifying into the rule he now quotes to every set medic. "We're not paid to die." Just 22 months later, November 30th, 2013, he was in a rehearsal gym when the alert pinged. Paul Walker, colleague, friend, the man who'd welcomed him to the Fast family with coffee and zero ego, dead in a flaming Porsche after leaving a charity event. Jason finished the day's sparring rounds, walked straight to an empty locker room, and sat on a bench so long the motion-activated lights clicked off. From then on, each roar of an engine on set echoed with absence. He began a ritual. Before every first take, a 10-second eye close. Words mouthed to ghosts only he can hear. Insurance requirements toughened, safety briefings lengthened, but survivor's guilt doesn't read policy documents. It shows up at 3 a.m. hotel corridors when adrenaline wears off and silence presses like a bruise you can't ice. The hits that missed him left deepest dents. Early 2024, clickbait sites pushed a headline. Jason Statham secretly hospitalized after career-ending spine fracture. The truth? A cervical stinger caught during a boat jump on an indie thriller. Painful, yes, but treated with physiotherapy and stoic sarcasm. 8 weeks later, he deadlifts 180 kilos on Instagram Live, just to spite algorithms. July 2025 ups the ante. A doctored BBC screen grab claims Statham died of a stroke in his London hotel. The Post racks 2 million shares before his publicist tweets a photo of Jason sipping espresso outside a Notting Hill cafe. Newspaper headline visible. Still alive, still busy. He replies with a single line. Scared my mum. Delete your lies. Yet the hoax touches a nerve. He's 58, spinal discs sandwiched thinner than crisps, left shoulder stitched 3 times, a right knee scoped so often surgeons joke they leave room keys inside. Friends notice he lingers longer over morning stretches, winces when lifting Jack onto his shoulders. Crew whispers circle. Will the Iron Man finally swap stunt pedals for CGI? Jason counters by signing on to Leviathan, a submarine-set thriller demanding deep tank freediving. Reporters ask why risk it. He shrugs. Every birthday is borrowed time. Might as well spend it underwater. The rumor mill spins, but the takeaway is clear. Retirement isn't a vocabulary word, only a rumor he refuses to fact-check. Love arrived in hushed tones rather than headlines. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, runway royalty 16 years his junior, met Jason at a 2010 party where he stood in the corner policing his water glass. She teased, "Smile, tough guy, no one's filming." The wall cracked. 12 months later, they're sharing a Notting Hill townhouse, painted in quiet colors neither had known on set. Rosie brings Sunday mornings, record-spinning Al Green, pancakes shaped like dinosaurs for Jack, born 2017, and Isabella, arrived 2022. Jason supplies fortress walls, no paparazzi sandwiches, no reality TV deals. Instead, croquet on the lawn, bedtime stories and gravel-thick whispers, and a porch light Rosie leaves on when shoots pull him across oceans. Yet presence remains the hardest stunt. During Hobbs & Shaw reshoots, 2019, he misses Jack's first steps, watching them via laggy FaceTime from a rain tent in Glasgow. Guilt feels heavier than the wrecking ball prop swinging behind him. He promises fewer travel days, box office math laughs. They compromise, base life in London, film blocks scheduled around school terms, Rosie's modeling pivots to a beauty brand startup run mostly online, Jason slots gym hours between nursery drop-offs. He still drifts to the garage at night, tuning the Jaguar E-Type inherited from his dad. But now he wipes tiny fingerprints off the bonnet before polishing. Friends marvel at domestic Statham until they hear him on the baby monitor. Night love. Remember, courage starts with quiet. It's the first time he's taught someone a lesson that doesn't involve punching distance. And perhaps that's the fight he's most determined to win, proving a man forged in chaos can hand his children something softer than scars. Net worth estimates hover at $120 million, but Jason treats money like stunt mats, useful, not decorative. His Beverly Hills Airy, 6,000 square feet of concrete and glass, acts chiefly as West Coast crash pad. Home is a Victorian meets minimalist enclave off London's Kensington Gardens, kitchens scented by Rosie's sourdough starter, and walls clad in framed vintage diving posters. His car stable reads like a spec sheet of controlled chaos. McLaren 720S for Sunday blasts, Aston Martin DBS Superleggera for red carpet duty, and a scratched 1963 Jaguar that never leaves the city limits. Every dent has a lesson, he quips, recalling nights his dad bartered tune-ups for pub gigs. Philanthropy happens off-camera. He funds a Derbyshire youth diving program, shipping refurbished boards to the same crumbly pool that first saved him from gravity. Quiet checks land annually in the Stuntmen's Association Benevolent Fund, covering medical bills for performers who took falls so leads didn't have to. Post Paul Walker, he co-founded a no-press-allowed road safety initiative that retrofits exotic car charity events with professional drivers and mandatory speed governors. Yet wealth cannot offset the bill his body keeps sending. Biannual MRIs map cartilage, like shrinking coastlines. His orthopedist predicts knee replacement within 5 years if flying sidekicks continue. Jason signs for Leviathan anyway, negotiating a clause. Production funds physio sessions for every stunt crew member, not just him. Asked what legacy he wants, he doesn't mention franchises or mansions. If some kid from a dead-end coal town sees my scars and thinks bruises are tuition, not defeat, that's payment enough. The accountant may disagree, but the ledger Jason answers to was etched by pain long before profit. So here stands Jason Statham at 58, spine groaning, legends circling, rumors shrieking, heart steady. He's proof that steel dents, that hustlers can rewrite destiny, that a single missed Olympic dream can ricochet into global box office billions. Yet ask him what matters and he'll point, not to trophies, but to 2 crayon drawings taped beside a fridge, and a garden Rosie insists on rewilding for the bees. The world keeps waiting for the punch he can't block. Age, injury, algorithmic irrelevance. Jason keeps answering with another set of knuckle push-ups, another safety clause for crew, another bedtime story muttered through fractured ribs. Steel bends, legends bleed, but some engines refuse to stall. If this journey left your pulse one notch louder, hold the feeling. And when you're ready for the next untold chapter, tap the screen and keep the story rolling.